Hello, Noah here, and welcome to part 29 of my Contempt of Court Let's Play. And what I'm going to do for this episode is I'm just going to go straight through. I'm just going to go straight through until we finish this court segment. I'm not going to have it be multiple episodes of just this court segment, because, I don't know. I want to at least try it out. Like, just go straight through, just no breaks. Well, obviously, I'm going to take a break in the middle, like if there is a recess, but I'm just going to make it one episode, just to make things easier so that I don't have to remember multiple episodes. Anyway, what am I talking about? Yeah. Morning, Renwick. Evening, Phoenix. No, it's morning. It's evening on the other side of the world. Well, we're not on the other side of the world. No, but I wish I was. Accused of murdering my best friend, stuck with a lawyer who doesn't even trust me? No, haven't you heard about Brisbane? Haven't I heard what? That he's dead? Of course I've heard. I'm apparently the one who did him in, after all. He's alive. That's not funny. Wait, you're serious? But the police must have known! Who said he was dead? Well, the one who told me who was... What the hell, mate? Detective Snow, have you heard the news? News? What news? The news that I'm gonna look like a bloody prat in court today? Yes, I've heard the news, and isn't it a blessing? You don't sound very happy about it. No, don't get me wrong, Brisbane's alive, yeah, cool and all that. But thanks to the fools who neglected to inform me of this development, my testimony is a chocolate teapot now. My heart bleeds for you, Snow. It really does. Although I have to wonder why Snow seems to be kept out of the loop most of the time. Court will commence in 3 minutes, gentlemen. Right, well, you two run along now. I'm off to come up with a new testimony with the 3 minutes I have left. It's time, Renwick. It's just dawned on me. Huh? What has? So Brisbane wasn't really killed, yeah, great, whatever. So what? Would that at all help my case? I can't answer that yet. Let's head on into the courtroom. And it's a good thing because it's a good thing that I have a cinnamon roll next to me. That sounds random as hell, but like I have a feeling this case might have some contradiction bullshit. So I'm going to need a treat to get me through this. Especially if I'm just doing it in one take and I'm just going for it. So, yeah. Court is now in session for the trial of Renwick Smith. The defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution has been ready for some time, Your Honor. First of all, I would like to... Is that Miles Edgeworth at the prosecutor's bench? I have to admit, Mr. Edgeworth, I wasn't expecting to see you again so soon. Yes, well, that makes two of us, Your Honor. I, for one, certainly hadn't anticipated a return to court anytime soon either. But circumstances arose and I had no choice but to accept. Ah yes, Mr. Brisbane. I heard the news. I think he was talking about the mystery caller. Very well. Would you care to give us your opening statement, Mr. Edgeworth? Your Honor, in the early hours of yesterday morning, somebody broke into the victim's house. Said person then proceeded to beat the victim, causing multiple life-threatening injuries. The prosecution has evidence to place the defendant at the scene of the crime. You found evidence against Renwick, but I didn't find anything, and I searched the scene twice. Detective Smith. Why, I can barely believe what I'm hearing! 2 detectives suspected of murder all in the same week. This is in the same week? Damn. Sorry, I'm gonna take a break. I need to eat some of my cinnamon roll before I forget. Oh, it's a good-ass cinnamon roll. Sorry. It appears... I started to do the judge voice, my bad. It appears Your Honor has been misinformed. While it is true that Detective Snow was previously held on suspicion of murder, Detective Smith is not, and that reason, right, is... Me? Oh, because the victim is in fact still alive, Your Honor. Brisbane's alive? Indeed. The assailant had beaten him within an inch of his life. But the victim remains in a stable condition and is currently comatose at the city hospital. The defendant, Renwick Smith, is the last known person to have set foot in the victim's home. And as such, we must address the results of the investigation regarding this fact. And you already said you found incriminating evidence. He hasn't even done anything yet, and I'm already sweating like crazy. That can be taken multiple ways. The Rightworth shippers are, they're losing it right now. You know what? No, that line was completely innocent. I just took it the wrong way, because I kind of shipped them. Whatever. Never mind. Just ignore me, okay? Yeah, Edgeworth's back, all right. You may call your first witness, Mr. Edgeworth. The prosecution calls the detective in charge of the investigation to the stand. Name and occupation, if you please. What the fuck are you doing? Up to no good. Professional thief. What? Looks like Edgeworth isn't yet familiar with the ways of the snow. Let's try this again. Name and occupation. Philharmonic. What? Philharmonic? Philharmonic? What the fuck is... What are you doing? Philharmonic. Conductor of the orchestra of... Detective, show some professionalism. Alright. Robert Snow, homicide. Sorry, my lord, but I guess you could describe my mood today as irksome. You would be too if you had to reform your whole testimony because you were kept in the dark. Just like old Muggin Snow over here. Because your original testimony was based on you thinking that Brisbane was dead. You got that right, mate. Yeah, thanks, guys. Make me look like a freaking idiot, why don't you? In any case, I think it's time you got on with giving us your testimony. Moving right along, then. Just so we're clear, I had to make this testimony as so it reflects the victim's true condition. I noticed earlier that Snow doesn't seem to know a lot about the crime. Is he being intentionally kept in the dark or something? An ambulance was called from the victim's address at 5:30 a.m. When it arrived along with the police, they found Brisbane on his living room floor. He was badly beaten and unconscious, but I suppose he was still alive. The room showed signs of a huge brawl between the victim and the assailant. Sadly though, it looks like Brisbane was no match for the guy. Blood everywhere too, must have been why I jumped to the conclusion he was dead. So, what did you guys think? What did you guys think? Did my new testimony hold up? It's an adequate testimony, considering you weren't fully informed of the victim's condition. Yes, it seems to hold water very well, detective. A brief but clear description of the crime scene, as well as some intuitive observations made. Oh, great! Well, thanks for that, guys. How about you, Harry? Care to make it a hat trick? I wasn't aware that we were scoring marks for Snow's testimony. 10 out of 10, I guess? Boom! Strike 3! My sympathy's right. I didn't realize this is what you had to put up with. Right, I fear we may have strayed from the road just a bit. We move now on to your cross-examination, Mr. Wright. Check audio. Yep. Shit. Yep. 5:30 a.m. I need to look at my evidence. I haven't looked at it in a little bit. Right arm broken. Holy shit. Whoever beat him really wanted him dead. Oh yeah, this. For the benefit of the court, could you tell us who made that call? Alright, well, the call was recorded. The data analysis still have it, which is why I couldn't bring it into court today. But we did hear a snippet of the recording yesterday, enough for a positive ID on the caller. And who is the one who made the call, detective? Who else but the victim himself or old Brisbane? So the victim called for his own ambulance? Was that even feasibly possible? Didn't you say the victim was found unconscious? I see what you're getting at, Your Honor, especially since... If an ambulance was called, why did the police show up too? Yeah, well, the operator who took the call thought it was best to inform the police as well. How come? How come? How do you think? The weak, shaky, pained voice of Brisbane sounded suspicious to the operator. And not just that, the call was cut short. He suddenly stopped talking. So after the operator sent the ambulance, she gave the precinct a bell and reported the call. Oh my god. That makes sense. Brisbane was obviously in a lot of pain at the time. Besides, the moment the call was cut off was no doubt when he fell unconscious. And what was the victim's condition when he was discovered, Detective? That did not sound correct, my bad. I'm still trying to get back into Edgeworth's voice. How bad were his injuries? Pretty bad, mate. Black eye, multiple internal and external traumas, broken arm, lost over a third of his blood. A third of your blood? Shouldn't that kill you? I'm just paraphrasing the injury report, more or less. Right, but is there any evidence to prove that the defendant caused those injuries? I mean, come to think of it, that would be kind of tricky to pull off. So you don't have anything to implicate my client? Why was he even arrested then? He couldn't have had anything to do with this crime. I'm sorry to rain on the defense's parade, but there is a certain piece of evidence I feel the detective has overlooked. A piece of evidence that I'm afraid doesn't exactly make Mr. Smith look all that innocent. Detective, if you would present the item in question. What do you want? The cushion that fell off the sofa during the struggle? The cushion? Detective Smith must be shaking in his boots now. No. Oh shit. No, Detective. The garrote wire, of course. The garrote wire? But it's already in the court record. That is true. But not only did Detective Snow fail to address this in his testimony, he missed out a very crucial detail about the wire. And that detail, Detective, is... Oh, that! A garrote wire was present at the scene of a brutal attack? What does this mean, Detective? And what else are you not telling us? Right, the wire. Well, you guys are gonna laugh at this, but the detail I forgot to bring up. Renwick's prints are on it. What? And you forgot about this? Do you have dementia? Detective Snow, have you been taking too many Benadryls? Order! Order! This certainly sounds like a most incriminating piece of evidence to me. I'd say it is. That was how we placed him at the scene of the crime, after all. Detective, you'll add this to your testimony at once. Sure thing. My bad, everyone. Renwick's traces on a potential murder weapon. I don't know where this will lead, but I've got a very bad feeling. Now, if you would repeat this for the benefit of the court. Oh yeah, I gotta press everything else as well. Yeah. Do you think Brisbane saw the assailant's face? Probably not. It was 5 in the morning, so it was still dark. Brisbane was in his living room at 5 in the morning. And it was dark? Wait a minute, Detective. Brisbane was in his living room when he was attacked, yes? Yeah? And you just said that it was dark because it was so early in the morning? Yes, I did. Your point being? If he really was standing in his living room before a mystery attacker showed up, wouldn't it have made sense for him to have the light on? Why would Brisbane have been standing around in the dark? Really, right. I expected more from you. The prosecution has a simple explanation for the victim's behavior. What? The assailant may have made noise when he broke into the house. This must have awoken the victim, who went downstairs to investigate. It was then, when he was lured into the living room, that the assailant struck from behind. That actually made a lot of sense. Drat! I thought I stumbled onto something there. I can't see much room for argument there. The fact that the victim was in his living room in the dark isn't cause for concern, I suppose. Please continue your testimony, Detective. Are you sure Detective Smith is the most likely suspect of the attack? I mean, Brisbane's a pretty big guy. Surely his assailant must have matched his physique to inflict that much damage on him? Oh wow, and then some! How big and strong that guy must have been. Big and strong, huh? Right. But does that sound at all like the defendant? He clearly doesn't match Brisbane in terms of heightened physique. Granted, the defendant doesn't quite fit the possible description of the assailant. Or should I say, the assailant we're building him up to be. What's your point, Edgeworth? My point, right, is that the attacker's physique is irrelevant. The defendant appears to be of moderate build, as you can see. Anybody like him could have inflicted that kind of damage upon the victim. You don't need to be a hulking powerhouse to be capable of beating somebody to death. Brisbane's not dead, remember? The prosecution has a point. Somebody of Detective Smith's build would easily be able to cause damage in a fight. And another possible lead slips away into the night. I can imagine why you'd say that though, Harry. Judging on the state of the room, that is. You're the lead detective, right? How come you were so out of the loop on the victim? Well, excuse me if the station decided to put the coffee boy in charge of relaying info. Wouldn't be surprised if that's true, looking at the state of the police today. So you're saying that nobody told you about Brisbane's condition? Nobody told me about Brisbane's condition. Of course, no. But again, I have to wonder why. Let's look at the wire. Possibly the original weapon before Brisbane was beaten bears Detective Smith's prints. The interior? Well, no, that makes sense. That's not going to be relevant for a little bit. Detective Smith said that he was asleep in his own apartment at the time of the crime. I ain't making this up, mate. He does speak the truth, right? If the defendant's prints were indeed found on the potential murder weapon, it is undeniable that he was involved with this crime.
Mr. Wright, you look as though you want to say something.
Something is off. I've been thinking, Your Honor. Well, it may be the case that my client's prints are on that piece of wire. There is one irrefutable fact that must be addressed. I dare say that this certain fact could throw this piece of wire into ambiguity.
Oh, very well then, let's hear what you have to say. What fact casts ambiguity on the garrote wire?
Save. Fucking save. What do you mean, what fact? I guess just that he was injured and the wire has no blood on it, and it just doesn't matter. Edgeworth, are you saying that because of the defendant's prints being on this wire, he is guilty of attempted murder? Naturally. There is no use in denying the facts, right? And you know it. You're right, I do know. That Detective Smith couldn't have been the assailant. What? Let us refer back to the victim, Errol Brisbane. What exactly was the cause of his injuries? Criminal battery. Why? Don't you see? If the assailant's method of murder was to beat Brisbane to death. What then is the significance of this wire? While I agree that this wire still needs looking into to find out why it bears his prints, there's no denying that it didn't contribute to Brisbane's injuries. And besides, the injury report doesn't even mention any use of a garrote wire. And I think I can hazard a guess as to why that may be. Because this wire is completely unrelated to the case. So, not to be a party pooper or anything, but wasn't there something else you wanted me to bring up, Mr. Ridgeworth? Yes, there was. Bring up what? I've caught on what you're trying to do, right? You're trying to disprove the wire's relevance to the case at hand by saying that it had no part to play in the assailant's attack on Brisbane. But I'm afraid I have evidence to the contrary. Detective, if you would be so kind as to bring it out. You mean this, right?
What's that? A photograph?
That's right, Your Honor. A photograph of the victim, to be more specific. Just a heads up, ladies and gents. This picture's pretty grisly. Oh boy. Ugh, I'm gonna hate this. I hated seeing Maplethorpe's neck in the last case, so...
Don't keep us all in the dark, Detective. Show us the photo at once.
Ugh. Yeah, it's so difficult to see Brisbane like that. Spotted the inconsistency yet, right? Huh? Oh, what is he talking about? I can't see. Ah! You found it, I assume.
What inconsistency would that be, Mr. Edgeworth?
The defense has stated that the wire bears no relevance to the current case. Yet there is something in this photo that proves otherwise. Care to explain this to the judge, right? Your Honor, if you would care to focus more on the victim's neck in the photo, you'll notice a faint red groove right the way around.
Yes, I can see. Wait a minute. Then does that mean...
Precisely, Your Honor. The groove you can see around the victim's neck in this photo is proof that the garrote wire was definitely used that night. But as I said, the injury report mentions nothing of damage inflicted by a garrote wire. Ah, yes, a minor error on the nurse's part. However, the mark left on the victim's neck was more or less a mere impression of the wire. As such, my guess is that it was not considered an injury, therefore it was not included in the report.
Oh my, so the wire does bear relevance after all. And the defendant's prints are on it too, so really that can only mean...
that the assailant was in fact the defendant himself, yes. Things went from bad to worse in no time at all. I've had kind of a suspicion about how this all went down. You did? Yeah, I told you yesterday, remember? Take a minute to flash back to yesterday's investigation. I'm just spitballing here, but what if the reason for Brisbane's beating was a botched assassination? It wouldn't make much sense for him to kill the victim in an unstealthy way, unless his original plan was to garrote him instead. Oh yeah, I remember now. You thought that the assailant originally intended to use the wire to strangle Brisbane.
That does seem to make the most logical sense at the moment. Would you testify more about what you say really happened, Detective?
Great, more of Snow's flawed logic. It's not flawed, it's actually pretty good. You're biased, Phoenix. Yeah. The way I see it kind of goes like this. The defendant broke into the victim's home for unknown reasons, but I suppose his main goal was to kill Brisbane. He went for a stealthy kill to use the garrote wire to take him down quietly, but Brisbane managed to break free and fight back. Panicking, the defendant leapt forwards and the two fought around the room. He eventually managed to knock Brisbane unconscious, then made a quick getaway. But Brisbane called. So,
Judging on the circumstances of the crime scene, I'd say that does make some sense.
Hey, I must be getting pretty good at this testimony on the spot block, then.
I would say so, Detective.
Likewise, I'm actually impressed. I'd be more impressed if this new testimony actually helped my case, but you play the cards you dealt.
Mr. Wright, you may begin the cross-examination.
Yeah, it's just this part. But I'll worry about that later. We don't know for sure that my client was the assailant. Maybe, maybe not, but let's just say for the sake of hypothetics that he is. Fine. So my client is the assailant, hypothetically. How did the assailant gain access to the house again? The back door near the kitchen was found by the police to be unlocked. Every other entry point was locked tight, so the assailant must have come in through the door. Could it be possible that he... Nope, he didn't break the lock. The door was completely intact. What conclusion can we get from this other than the assailant simply entered through the door?
So it really was as simple as entering via an unlocked door? I have to admit, if I were a burglar, I wouldn't have even thought of that. Naturally, you would assume all doors to be locked.
And yet, Brisbane's back door was open for anybody to just waltz in and out. Did the police discover a reason for the assault, Detective? That would be a negative, mate. We're still trying to figure out what motive he would have had. And why would he want to do that? Renwick and Brisbane have been friends for over 5 years now, I reckon. There's plenty of time to look back and examine for any evidence of a rift between them. I was referring to the assailant, not Detective Smith specifically. I have to admit that the defendant is quite the enigma, even to me.
How do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth?
I've had a team of investigators looking into Detective Smith's history, and not one of them has been able to find a thing. The past 5 years of the defendant's life are a total blank, Your Honor.
5 years, you say? How very odd.
Why would his recent past be so secretive? Yes, most curious. The latest point they could find was just after an incident in this very courthouse. And after said incident, the defendant here vanished from all records. I don't know, sounds pretty shifty to me. I knew Detective Smith was hiding something. We need to have a serious talk later.
Please continue, Detective Snow. Tell us more about the assailant's movements.
That marker on Brisbane's neck could be anything. I assure you, it was not overlooked, right? A comparison was made between the mark on the victim's neck and the wire, of course. And? Need you even ask? It was a perfect match. Ergo, the garrote wire that bears the defendant's prints was indeed the cause of the imprint. Ugh. He still failed, though. He tried to take out Brisbane quietly. Leading to the circumstances of his current condition. Yep, unless he had a nasty fall down the stairs. Don't tell me. I suppose that's what really happened? Oh, and then what if his body was moved into the living room to look like a murder? Back on topic now. Okay, geez, you could slice cheese with that glare. Anyway, Brisbane must have broken free of the assailant. Sounds like it was a pretty brutal fight. It looks brutal too. You saw the state of the living room. As big and bad as Brisbane is, the assailant most likely got the upper hand. Why would the assailant have left Brisbane unconscious? Why not finish him off? I think it's safe to say that he thought he'd killed him then and there. Looking at all the blood in Brisbane's state, it's not hard to think that. Besides, anybody could mistake an unconscious body for a dead one, right? Oh, the irony. Snow's theory on the assailant's movements actually sounds like it could be possible, but at the end of the day, it's still just guesswork, meaning that this testimony is far from unbreakable. Perhaps another browse through the court record is in order. I think it is just like... Well, I mean, first I'm going to save. And then I'm going to present the telephone, because he was not knocked unconscious, because he was able to call. Objection! I have a problem with your testimony, Detective. Oh, come on! What was wrong with that one? You said that Brisbane was knocked unconscious during the fight. Yes? While it sounds likely, judging on his injuries and the amount of lost blood, Brisbane couldn't have been rendered unconscious at that moment. Why, you ask? Because of this.
The victim's telephone?
Yes, Your Honor. Seeing as how the ambulance was called by Brisbane himself after the fight, it's highly unlikely that he fell into his coma before he made that call. Oh, yeah.
The defense has a point, Mr. Edgeworth. Do you have anything to add?
As you may very well know, Your Honor, I believe in hard evidence. And this testimony from Detective Snow then is anything but.
Eh?
Well, I commit... Sorry, I went to the judge voice for some reason. While I commend you for your attempts at logic and deductive reasoning, your testimony is just that, a string of deductions, a mere theory, a game theory, if you will. Without stone-cold evidence, it simply will not hold up on its own. And besides, right, it still doesn't discredit the garrote wire. Namely, why it bears the defendant's fingerprints above all else. He's right. The most incriminating piece of evidence still hasn't yet been called for. This wire Renwick's prints on this wire.
Right. I think that's all there is to this testimony. What I suppose we'd all like to know now is what the assailant's motive was. What was his reasoning behind such a vicious attempted murder? Detective Snow, do you have any ideas for us?
Oh, good question. Just give me a sec, Your Honor. While Detective Snow continues to pretend that he's thinking deeply...
Damn. Everybody's just piling on Detective Snow right now.
While Detective Snow continues to pretend that he's thinking deeply, I will add that the prosecution could not fathom the assailant's behavior either, Your Honor. We found nothing at the crime scene to explain why such an attempt on his life was carried out.
I see. I need to remind you that this is a most troubling case we have in our hands, Mr. Edgeworth.
Now, this is the crucial part of the case. What reason would the assailant have had to carry out the attack in the first place? Let's check in with Detective Snow and see if he's still pretending to come up with something. Okay, now if he was to... No, that wouldn't work.
I see the good detective is also at a loss for words.
Oh, sugar! Now I've lost my train of thought. So, that would be an affirmative, Your Honor. Could there be anything in the court record that can help us? Come on, I need something to prove a motive. Wait a minute. That evidence... Could it be? Has the answer been in front of us all this time? Your Honor, I think I have it.
Mr. Wright, do you have evidence to explain a motive?
Whether this will help or hinder my client is another problem altogether, but I have to keep the ball rolling for now. No point in fronting over that bridge until we have to cross it. I believe so, Your Honor.
Very well, you may present your evidence to the court. So tell us, which piece of evidence explains the assailant's motive for attempting to kill Mr. Brisbane?
Obviously gonna save this. What do you think of that, Your Honor? What? The fuck? Okay. How is that not it? I don't know what's going on. Is it the card? No. No, it can't be the card. I'll try the card, I guess. What do you know, I'll just go through the failure conversation. What do you think of that, Your Honor?
I'm not sure what to think, Mr. Wright.
No, I have something to say. Right, are you out of your mind? If I said yes, would Your Honor forgo the penalty just this once?
No, I wouldn't.
Pleading insanity to escape your punishment? I would gladly accept your plea, but you will face your penalty of like a man regardless. No, I won't. Not the card. Is it the wire? No. I'm just gonna try shit. It's the photo? How? Okay. Alright. Let's see where the game goes with this. Do you want the assailant's motive and backed up by evidence, no less? Then I believe this photo of Brisbane's body is the proof I need.
That grisly picture again.
Something about this photograph bothers me, Your Honor. Something seems off.
And you believe that it will explain the assailant's motive?
I'm positive.
Bring out the photograph and point it out to us, Mr. Wright. So tell us, which part of the photo explains the assailant's...
So tell us,
which part of the photo explains the assailant's motive for attempted murder?
What? Is it the neck? I'll try that first. Right here. Nope. Oh shit, yeah, I gotta go through this again, and then I'll save again. Okay, so it's the photo, for some reason. Wish I could skip through this text. Something bothers. I'm not seeing it. Oh yeah, I gotta save here. Is it as tight? No, that would be stupid. Is it this purple mark up here? Maybe? No. This blood stain? No. I'm like that picture of Phoenix right there. I don't know what's going on. His eye? No. Is it something that's behind this button? Because if it is, that's really annoying. I'm gonna say up there. No. Right there? Okay, you know what? I'm gonna look at the walkthrough. I don't know what's going on anymore. So apparently it's this eye, which... because of the enigmium, that's why. I guess that makes sense, but I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that. Just as I suspected. Take a closer look at this section, Your Honor.
What am I looking at here? The victim's eye?
That's right. The victim's eye is what you're looking at. Or should I say, what you're not looking at.
Sorry? I'm afraid I don't quite follow.
Tell me, Your Honor. What is Brisbane's most glaring feature?
His most glaring feature? That's easy. That scary red eye of his. Gives me the heebie-jeebies just thinking about it.
So why isn't it here in this photo? Because his eyes are fucking closed. Ugh. Okay. His left eye is only half closed in this picture. And yet there doesn't appear to be a visible eyeball. Just an empty socket filled with blood. Yes. There's reason to believe that the assailant's plot to try and kill Brisbane was to steal his enigmium eyeball.
Order in the court.
Did you just say enigmium? That's what Brisbane's eyes... Oh shit. I needed to find his voice. Ego? That's what Brisbane's eye has been made of all this time? Enigmium? Oh, that's right. Edgeworth wouldn't have known, being abroad at the time. That's right, Edgeworth. Whoever the assailant was, knew the truth about Brisbane's eye. He knew what it was made from, and the sheer amount of money it was worth. Which I'll admit at this stage, more or less, the whole state knows after this trial. But to use enigmium as a replacement eyeball! Come to think of it, what was Brisbane's reason for doing that? Maybe we'll never know. Why are you thinking so hard, Phoenix?
I think it's safe to say that the assailant's motive has now been made clear. Since the enigmium had become public knowledge thanks to the Marvin Ghostberg murder, I suppose it was only a matter of time before somebody dangerous claimed it for themselves.
Indeed. However, this revelation hasn't made things easier in finding the perpetrator. What do you mean, Edgeworth? A very damaging motive has just been established, right? And need I remind you of who is still on trial here? Uh-oh. Now I know what he's saying. Yes, the motive may have been explained, but as it stands, the assailant is still believed to be the defendant, Renwick Smith. And his prints on the garrote wire prove that he was at the scene with intent to kill.
Order! I'm afraid you're correct, Mr. Edgeworth. So the defendant's traces have been discovered at the scene, and on the weapon, no less. All things considered, I think I am ready to render my verdict.
So is that it? Is it over just like that? I don't want to believe it myself, but the evidence and the motive are there. Is there nothing I can do?
If there are no further questions, I believe I will hand down my verdict. This court finds the defendant, Renwick Smith.
What the fuck? Did I hear that right? Edgeworth? Right?
You both raised objections just now?
Very well. You first, right? Right. Well, I'm sorry, Your Honor, but you can't hand down your verdict just yet.
Was there something else you hoped to bring up, Mr. Wright?
While I agree that the current circumstances aren't exactly in the defense's favor, there is something I need to address which will make you think twice about your verdict.
Objection sustained. I will give you a chance to explain yourself.
With these kinds of odds stacked against me, I can't afford to slip up now. Holy shit! Your Honor, I wish to present something to explain why you can't end this trial just yet. That's a really big penalty. Yeah, it's gonna be the notepad. It fucking has to be. There's no way it isn't. What? What the fuck? The card? Nope. Is it the Enigmium? Currently missing. I guess it's the Enigmium. Your Honor, the reason I can't let you hand down your verdict is because of this.
The missing Enigmium? What good will presenting that do?
Please, hear me out for a second. I admit that a defense for Detective Smith may seem less than fruitless right now, but the Enigmium is the reason you cannot render a verdict.
So you keep saying, but how exactly is that so?
It's simple, really. If my client is truly guilty of attacking Brisbane and stealing his Enigmium eye, then it must surely still be in his possession. During yesterday's investigation, Detective Smith's apartment was searched by the police. Don't you think it's odd that they haven't turned up the Enigmium? Therefore, I'm proposing that the Enigmium must be found before my client's guilt is confirmed.
I see. The defense's request is granted. Bailiff, see to it that a more thorough search of Detective Smith's apartment is issued. We must find the victim's Enigmium eyeball.
Phew, I sure dodged a bullet there. Ahem, it's now my turn to explain my earlier outburst, Your Honor.
Oh yes, of course. We're all ears, Mr. Edgeworth.
I too have my own reason for prolonging the trial, Your Honor. While the faith and trust Wright has in his client is most commendable, I'm afraid I have to disagree on this occasion. For you see, Wright, my witness still has her side of the story to tell. The witness. I'd completely forgotten about her.
Somebody saw the assault, Mr. Edgeworth?
Yes, and I'm sorry, Wright, but her story doesn't sound too good for the defense.
The court will now take a 15-minute recess while the witness is prepared. Court is adjourned.
And I'm going to take a short little break. I'm now back from my break, so let's keep going. Renwick. I have some questions for you regarding the case so far. I thought you might. About what was said in there, about your past. What does it even matter? We shouldn't be focusing on the past right now. We shouldn't focus on the past at all, really. You know, onwards and upwards and all that. He's just stalling until court reconvenes. Renwick, stop trying to buy time. What I want from you right now is answers. Why have you disappeared from all records for the past 5 years? I don't know. I'm not responsible for keeping tabs on those records, am I? I just go about my day-to-day life. I'm not responsible for records and such. Something else piqued my interest. Something else piqued my curiosity on the subject. The prosecution said that it happened shortly after the DT2 aftermath, which, if memory serves me, you yourself investigated. Ah, me and my big mouth. DT2 had nothing to do with any of it, okay? Any of what? Ah. What are you trying to hide from me, Renwick? How can you expect a fair defense from me if you're not going to be straight with me? Look, Phoenix, there's something you need to get to grips with. Sure, you get all sorts of crooks to come out to you for aid. And granted, the vast majority were innocent and were cleared thanks to you and your trust. But take it from me, there are some people out there you just can't trust. Some people are just doomed, and no amount of trust or belief will change anything. There's definitely something shady going on here. He was apprehensive about letting me defend him at first, but now he's basically telling me that I can't trust him. I'm being demoralized by my own client. Believe in your client to the bitter end. That's what she always did, but is that what I should be doing right now? Is blindly following that principle always the best thing to do?
Court is back in session. Mr. Edgeworth, is your witness prepared?
She is. However, I feel I must first issue a warning. She may prove to be a rather difficult person. So I ask for nobody to take offense at any snippy remarks she may make. Oh great, what quirky character do we have to deal with now? The prosecution calls the witness to the stand. Oh boy. Oh boy, we got an old woman on the stand. I'm getting flashbacks to old bag. Oh boy. I'm not ready for this, am I? May we have your name and occupation?
Excuse me?
I said may we have your...
You'll have nothing with that attitude, young scamp. Didn't your mother teach you your please and thank yous?
Not this again, please!
I suppose that's a start. And stand up straight. Nobody elects a sloucher.
Where do you find these people, Edgeworth?
Excuse me, miss, but... Miss, I'm a miss. Well, Ms. Witness.
Oh, these two voices are gonna get so jumbled up.
Well, Miss Witness, could we have your name and profession, please? Miss Witness? That's Miss Morag Weaver to you, too, Rag.
And your occupation would be?
And your occupation would be what?
Miss Weaver.
There! You see, a little manners cost nothing, do they? Anyway, I'm an elementary school teacher, I'll have you know. I spend my days teaching wee sprogs such as yourself.
A school teacher, and here I was thinking she was some sort of drill sergeant. And am I right in saying that you saw the attack happen, Miss Weaver?
Clean your ears, boy. I already told you that I did several times. And of curiosity, how were you able to see the crime? I live at 53 Silverhouse Street, next door to Mr. Brisbane. I saw the whole thing happen through my window, I did.
Oh. Sorry, the voice is killing me.
Shh, quiet, settle down, everyone. Quiet, you at the back.
Does she think she's in a classroom or something?
Say, you there, laddie?
Me?
Yes, you. I don't believe you've uttered a single word out of turn. You've been well behaved and haven't spoken unless spoken to. Unlike this lay about to my left, at any rate.
Oh dear, where is this going?
And I'm not one to let good behavior go unnoticed, so tell me, boy. Which sticker would you like?
Sticker?
I have smiley faces, and oh, what's this? I also have gold stars.
Could I have a gold star, please?
Yes, of course. Here, you can have a few.
Oh, I love this. Just go with the Phoenix. Your Honor, just do something!
Now see here, witness. You can't do that and expect me to turn a blind eye. Where's my sticker?
Clearly I made a dreadful mistake by bringing in this deluded old woman.
Master Edgeworth, I'm appalled at your language. Since I don't have any soap and water on hand to wash out that filthy mouth of yours, I will have to make do with giving you your own special sticker.
Oh my god. This is like a better version of Old Bag. Your Honor, let's move on. Now.
Mr. Edgeworth got a sticker. I suppose it's time we moved on to your testimony, Miss Weaver.
I've met some real characters, but this lady is something else. Right now, is Phoenix just gonna have these stickers on for the entire rest of the case? Right now, I seem to be the teacher's pet, so maybe this could work to my advantage.
As a teacher, I have to be up every morning at the crack of dawn. When it was like any other morning to begin with, I was preparing to leave the house when something out of the window caught my eye. 2 people fighting in Mr. Brisbane's house next door. Then the attacker left the room. I didn't see Mr. Brisbane again. I suppose that would explain how you could see the crime.
Edgeworth seems tetchy. He's clearly dissatisfied with that testimony.
Mr. Wright, you may begin the cross-examination.
How early would that be, Miss Weaver?
Well, I always leave the house at approximately 5 a.m.
That's pretty early.
There's a phrase I often repeat to my pupils, Master Wright. Early to bed, early to rise makes one healthy, wealthy, and wise.
We're going to be hearing several more of these pearls, aren't we?
As I say, early mornings are part of my routine, which takes me back to my testimony.
What exactly is your morning routine, Miss Weaver?
I beg your pardon, laddie? Don't think those gold stars entitle you to more than your basic privileges.
No. I don't mean for you to tell me everything. Glad to see Edgeworth is finding this so funny.
I see. Then in that case, there really isn't much more to my morning routine than breakfast. You see, like any other morning. Nothing out of the ordinary until...
She keeps saying laddie. Is she Irish? Oh god, doing an Irish old woman voice. I don't know if I can handle that. Should I try? I feel like I should at least try, right? No, this is gonna go horribly. You could see into the victim's house from your window?
There's only a wee gap between our houses. My kitchen window is adjacent to his living room window.
You had a perfect view of the crime.
Precisely. And what did I see, I hear you ask?
So you saw everything?
Oh, look at this boy. Hands on desk, arched forward and ready to fight. I must say, I like the cut of your jib, Master Wright.
If you could get back on topic and answer Wright's question.
Ah, of course. And then we have Master Edgeworth over here. And look at you. You've torn your naughty sticker off. One must proudly wear their mistakes like badges. Remember that, boy?
Oh, I won't forget. I better step in before Edgeworth gets told off again. Miss Weaver, if you could answer my previous question for me.
Oh, of course. Forgive me, I tend to ramble. It's as I said, laddie. I saw a fight break out in Mr. Brisbane's living room. Barely lasted a minute or two before it was over.
That voice is alright. It's just so hard to do high-pitched voices. Well, you guys will see at the end of Case 3 of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. You'll see I do a pretty good high-pitched character at the end of that case.
Oh, there you are.
There we go. Got it. First try. Got it. First try.
What?
Naughty, running off like that.
What? What?
I got it. First try. Let's fucking go.
Is this some kind of picnic? Who's this little girl now?
And take it out with you as well. I was looking forward to the trial of one of my experimentals.
Fuck.
You sound like a fucking Animal Crossing character.
Can you take Gina, please? Please.
Adam and Eva, What the fuck? What the fuck?
You wanna beat me?
Excuse me, but who are you?
Hi, good day to you. I'm, well, the inventor, I suppose, of that machine.
The inventor?
Well, normal smoke grenades are so dull, don't you agree? White, and more white. If you have to be shrouded in smoke, it could at least be a pretty color, I thought to myself.
Do we have to be shrouded in smoke, though, at all?
I just took my eyes off of I just took my eyes off of I was changing to a different... she pinched it!
So that will come out eventually. Don't know when. But, yeah, you'll see. You wouldn't happen to have seen the assailant's face?
Oh, yes, I did. And as you ask whose visage I espied from my breakfast table? toe rag sitting in the defendant's chair, Master Smith. Sit up straight over there, Master Smith. Shush, everybody. Settle down.
She saw Detective Smith attacking Brisbane? That can't be right. You see, right? Mr. Smith's presence at the crime scene is now more than confirmed. Coupled with his garrote wire, which bears his prints, I'm afraid I can't see any more room for debate. Me neither. But there has to be more to this batty old woman's testimony. Miss Weaver, I'd like you to add this to your testimony.
Yes, I too find it strange that you would omit those information in the first place. You never asked.
Huh? Was that a trace of hesitation in her voice?
Well, it's as I say.
It was that Smith character. Now, but was it now? I think not. She must be lying in this statement. And there's only one way I can think to get the truth out of somebody this stubborn. Miss Weaver, are you sure you saw the assailant's face?
That's what I said, isn't it?
That little quiver in her voice again. I think I'm onto something. With that in mind, let me ask you something, Miss Weaver. Alright, I'm back. I'm gonna save first, obviously. I don't think this question makes sense. Did you call the police? That's a big one. After witnessing a crime, the first thing anyone would do is call the police, right? Aha, the plot thickens.
Of course I called the police. What sort of upstanding citizen would I be if I didn't?
I agree. It's only natural for a witness of a crime to inform the police. But that's not what you did, is it, Miss Weaver?
Well, why I never... I want some proof.
Proof?
Listen here, toe rag. The police had to have heard about the crime for them to come and investigate, right? That was because of me. I'm the reason they discovered the assault.
I beg to differ, miss. I have the evidence, miss. Oh, sorry. I thought that he was saying something else after that. I have the evidence to suggest otherwise. Oh, I'm about to sneeze. No. Oh, I accidentally clicked that. Oh, why am I having allergy issues? I'm having such bad allergy issues. Why? Miss Weaver, I have proof that you weren't the one who summoned the police. This telephone was used that night to summon an ambulance.
Yes, that's right. Why, I was the one who called for it, after all. After seeing the shocking state of Mr. Brisbane.
Really? So you called an ambulance using the victim's telephone?
The victim's Yeah.
I believe you understand what I'm getting at. An ambulance, accompanied by the police, was indeed summoned that night, but from the victim's telephone. And do you know why that is? Because Brisbane was the one who called the ambulance.
Ridiculous! Order! Mr. Wright, are you suggesting that this sweet old lady has been lying to us this whole time?
Sweet?
Old?
Edgeworth, what do you mean by that? Hey, yo! Lady? Well, it's pretty simple, really, Your Honor. From this obvious lie that the witnesses told us, I have but one conclusion. She never saw the incident. I think I can hazard a guess. Miss Weaver, the police weren't contacted by you, the supposed witness of this crime. Because you never actually saw the incident happen, did you?
Scamp! Toe rag! And to think that I saw potential in you! Right, that does it. I'm stripping you of all your stars.
No, my work! Oh, my throat is hurting. I hate doing her voice. Ugh. I need a second. I need to drink.
Miss Weaver, say it isn't so. Did you really see the incident or not? Not strictly speaking, no.
What? That's not what you've been telling me. All this time you've been making a show of how you saw the assailant himself.
Oh, get off your high horse, laddie. For your information, I did see the assailant himself.
What do you mean by that?
I had just finished breakfast and left the house. when I bumped into him outside. Silence, children!
So she left her house at the same time the assailant left Brisbane's? And that would mean she saw the killer?
Witness, why didn't you mention this earlier? Why lie to us and say that you saw the crime happen? Forgive me, Headmaster. I actually found out much later that afternoon when I returned. I was just so horrified to hear about what happened. I wanted retribution. If only I hadn't tackled that hooligan to the ground when I first met him that morning.
You could have just told him off. That surely would have immobilized him with fear.
Perjury is still an offense, Miss Weaver. But I suppose I could lessen the punishment if your new testimony will be the truth.
No! No! Be strict.
You didn't tell me twice, you Headmaster.
My throat hurts.
Very well. Then tell us what happened when you met with the assailant outside.
I hate you. I hate you and your stupid Irish voice.
As I left my house, I saw somebody emerge from the gap between the two houses. He wore a hooded top and was holding a red glowing object in his gloved hand. Naturally, I assumed it to be Mr. Brisbane, so I wished him a good morning. He greeted me back and set off in the other direction. Master Smith, I can say with utmost certainty that it was his face I saw. I see. And you swear that this is the truth this time? Yes, you must understand that I just wanted justice for poor Mr. Brisbane. I suppose I got a little carried away with my story. In your own time, Mr. Wright. Begin the cross-examination.
That doesn't matter. Now this. Red glowing object. Hooded top? Are you sure?
I know a hooded top when I see one, boy. One of those so-called hoodies the youngins are keen on wearing nowadays. Don't even get me started on hooders. Why, these days I can barely look around without seeing somebody wearing one of those hooders. Tell me, Mr. Wright, do you think a hooder would suit me?
No. And stop saying hooder. Miss Weaver, I wonder something else. You also said that the man you saw was carrying a red glowing object?
Yes, quite strange. My eyes flickered to the faint red glow in his hand. That was all I could see.
That had to have been Mr. Brisbane's eyeball. The missing enigmium, Your Honor.
Yes, the eyeball does match that very same description.
That's not good. Detective Smith does turn out to be the one who left the house. He's as good as guilty. Are you sure you didn't mistake Detective Smith for somebody else, Miss Weaver?
I'm as sure as anything I'm as sure as anything that I saw the tow rag
What is that word? Traipsing?
Around Mr. Brisbane's that night. Although, come to think of it...
So let me get this straight. A man in a hooded top emerges from the gap between the two houses. I suppose that struck you as odd, perhaps?
Oh, now you come to mention it, it did seem a tad peculiar. He usually leaves by the front door.
Bravo, Miss Top of the Class. Bravo.
Look, the point remains that I thought it was Mr. Brisbane, all right? Who else would leave his house but he himself?
Right. And how did he respond to your greeting? Is that all he did?
Just what are you implying by that remark?
For a start, what exactly did he say to you?
Something along the lines of, "Oh, morning to you too, Morag."
That was helpful. But I can't shake the feeling that I should be asking more about the assailant's actions. Did you say that you saw the man's face, witness?
You'll address me by my proper title, you little. I say, I cannot condone this kind of behavior. Mr. Edgeworth, please respect your elders in the future.
What? What? Why am I the one in trouble here? Welcome to my world, Edgeworth.
Oh yes, I saw his face all right.
I'm in so much pain. I'm doing this for you guys. You guys better fucking like the video, I swear. I'm suffering. You saw the defendant's face, are you sure?
Absolutely. It was the loud of a man, Master Smith.
She sure sounds pretty agitated over this particular detail. I wonder if there's something else she's keeping to herself. I don't know. Let's go ahead and let her rant. I guess we'll see where she goes with this.
I glimpsed his oafish face from beneath that cowardly hood. The smooth irony visage and the blank remorseless gaze that only killers possess. Nary a soul nor a flicker of guilt to cross those deep dark holes for her eyes.
Whoa, she's getting pretty carried away here. Maybe I should have shut her up after all.
Very poetic. What did you think, Mr. Wright?
It's useful. It sucked. I'll say it's useful. It could be very useful, Your Honor, as a new statement.
If you think it will be of use to you, Miss Weaver, please amend your testimony with your last statement.
Chalk white. The fuck? Look at him. I mean, yeah, he's white, but like, he's not pale white. He's not like milk jug white. Come now, Miss Weaver. It's not nice to lie to the class.
Why of all the cheek? Explain yourself, young man.
Just now you described the assailant's face as being smooth and chalk white.
And what's your problem with that?
It's a simple matter of observation, Miss Weaver. Smooth and chalk white. Does that description sound at all like the defendant?
Yes, the defendant's face is anything but smooth, I have to say.
Damn! Perhaps not, but his face could still be regarded as gaunt as the witness put it. And in the light of the moon, his face may very well have appeared to be white. But if Miss Weaver were to spot the assailant's face, she would have noted Detective Smith's beard above all else. You want to know what I think, miss? With what you just told us, I think that... You saw nothing. You didn't really see the assailant's face, did you, Miss Weaver?
I did so. Don't you dare question me, Sonny.
But it's what I do. Okay, she's still not letting up. But why would she describe a completely different face? You want to know what I think, miss? Oh, okay. You did see the assailant's face.
What?
I'm saying that you were telling the truth in what you saw.
But you just established that your description sounds nothing like the defendant.
That's right, Your Honor. Miss Weaver's description was truthful. But keep in mind that she is adamant that the assailant was Detective Smith. So why then did she provide a description of a face that is obviously different? Why not lie and just describe Detective Smith's face instead? Because what she saw left quite an impression on her. Didn't it, witness?
That mask. Good morning, Mr. Brisbane.
Oh, morning to you too, Marag. I don't know what voice. Just some random ass deep voice. That'll work.
A mask, you say? Yes, a plain white mask. And of course it was so dark that I wasn't able to see any other facial features. And well, it was quite the shock indeed when he looked over his shoulder at me.
What did you do after he departed?
I continued on my way to the school, of course. What do you think? But the masked stranger was on my mind all day. I knew I'd made a grave mistake by not reporting the scoundrel when I saw him.
And as you said, you went to wear the situation until you returned home from work later, yes?
That's the correct answer, boy. But don't think you're getting a sticker from me now.
Somehow, I think I'll be able to sleep tonight. So what happened when you returned home, Miss Weaver?
It was later that afternoon. When I arrived home, I noticed the investigation next door. The rest of the story, as they say, takes care of itself. Yes, we know the rest. Any thoughts on this from the either side?
You bet I do. Yes, Your Honor. I have a big problem with what Miss Weaver just said.
There's a problem?
Oh my god. I apologize, I keep coughing, but this voice is just killing me. You claim that the assailant wore a mask. You also stated, and I quote, "It It was so dark that I was unable to see any other facial features.
Oh.
So tell me this, witness. How did you know that the assailant was Detective Smith?
That's a good question.
Witness, your testimony changes every time we hear it. First you say you saw the moment of the attack, when you didn't. Next you say you saw the assailant's face, when you didn't.
I heard his voice.
Yes, I had a feeling that was the next thing you were going to add to this.
Shut your trap, youngin'. I'm telling you the truth this time. Yes, it's all come back to me now. I don't know why I didn't remember earlier.
So I'm gonna take a drink.
What are you talking about now, Miss Weaver? What have you now remembered? The man who left the premises was indeed Mr. Smith. And I have proof. What's that contraption you have there? This is my cell phone, see? And it no doubt proves the criminal to be Mr. Smith. Cell phone? That's one of those newfangled portable telephones, isn't it? Yes, well, I've always been against the idea of conforming to all this technology. But my daughter managed to convince me to get one for myself. I see. I do envy you, Mr. Weaver. Miss Weaver.
If you would care to return to the topic at hand, and ask the witness how exactly her cell phone incriminates the defendant.
Indeed. How is your cell phone relevant? That morning, as I left the house to go to work, I was speaking to my daughter on this very phone.
So when the assailant spoke back to you when you wished him good morning, I imagine your cell's microphone would have picked up his voice?
Correct, laddie. And you know what else? I have a recording of the conversation.
What? Why did you not present this to me in the first place?
Well, excuse me for not being hip with the kids. I'm in the process of learning all of its functions and whatnots.
You'd think a technophobic granny wouldn't even know how to text. And yet you managed to work out how to record a phone conversation?
Well now, I propose that we listen to this new piece of evidence. Yes, headmaster. I shall play it for all of you in the class. Oh, blast it, I can't figure out these things. Don't look at me either. I wouldn't know a cell telephone from the larger one.
You'll get the right button eventually. Oh, for pity's sake, I'll do it.
Hello, who's this?
It's me, Lily. Remember your only daughter?
Oh, I'm sorry, dear. I didn't recognize your voice.
Way to go, Mom. I guess I need to come and visit you more often.
You're up early, dear. What's wrong?
I know you're probably on your way to work, so I'll be quick.
That's right. I'm just leaving the house now, and... Is that... Excuse me a second. Good morning to you, Mr. Brisbane.
Oh, morning to you too, Marag. You still there, Mom?
Yes, I'll call you back, dear.
No, that's wrong. Because Brisbane called at 5:30, so the killer could not have left the house.
The person who could be heard in the background of that recording.
What is the meaning of this, Detective Smith?
What is even... That wasn't me!
Order! 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 I will have order!
I can't talk. My throat is still hurting. Ow. Ow.
Well now, this is the turn up for the books.
Hopefully this character doesn't show up again.
A man has been caught by a cell telephone, his voice being out that of the defendant. I believe that this mortem proves the assailant to be Detective Smith.
Not good, not good. I have to discredit that recording or we're finished. Your Honor, I would like to ask Miss Weaver to testify about that recording. It has already been established that the defendant's voice is present in the recording. Are you perchance hoping to somehow debunk that fact with a cross-examination? He's right. That voice in the background is Detective Smith, no doubt about it. But there has to be something that proves this is all a big mistake. The defense demands of Miss Weaver to give a full account of what she saw and heard that morning.
I must admit, Mr. Wright, that I fail to see what new information could be provided right now. And I have the evidence provided to the court. Would you like me to grant your request?
No going back now. This is my last chance to keep the case from ending here. I would, Your Honor.
Then it's settled. Miss Weaver, we would like to hear one more testimony from you.
No.
I've heard the boy, Headmaster. I'm not deaf. I was speaking with my daughter on the phone as I left the house. That was when I spotted who I thought was Mr. Brisbane. I called out to him, "Good morning, Mr. Brisbane," I said. In response, he glanced over his shoulder and I spotted that frightening mask of his. "Morning to you too, Marag," was his response. The whole affair took place shortly after 5 a.m. as heard at the end of the recording. Just listen to the response. That's Master Smith without a shadow of a doubt.
I already know what to do here.
Your thoughts, Mr. Edgeworth?
The testimony does nothing but tell us what we already know. But if you think you can find any information from this ride, by all means be my guest. But first, it goes without saying that we add this new evidence to the court record. This is it. I have to find something here. Even if it's all a rehash of what we already know.
In your own time, Mr. Wright, begin the cross-examination.
So. It doesn't say when Brisbane got hurt, so I can't really prove anything with that. I'm going to press this first. Actually, I'm going to save, and then I'm going to press this, and then I'm going to present the telephone. 5:03 a.m. according to the end of the recording.
Pah! Details.
There has to be a detail in this conversation somewhere that I can latch onto. Something, anything to remove Detective Smith's involvement with the crime. And you're absolutely sure that you heard my client speak to you? So, yeah, fuck you. Good old Mr. Telephone to the rescue yet again. Miss Weaver, I have a question for you if you don't mind.
Where are your manners, laddie? Put your hand up if you have a question.
If that's what it takes.
Yes, Master Wright?
I have a question for you regarding your phone call recording. This recording. It contains a glaring contradiction with Brisbane's telephone. Only trouble is, which page do I look at?
Very well, Mr. Wright. On which page does this contradiction lie?
The fuck? Page 5. It's right here on page 5, Your Honor.
Page 5? Let me see what we have here. I'm afraid you've lost me, Mr. Wright. The only thing that is said on this page is, yes, I call you back, dear.
Don't rush to become a professional impressionist anytime soon. That's not the part I'm talking about, Your Honor. I'm talking about the timestamp at the end of the recording. Miss Weaver, what time did you leave your house on the morning of the crime?
I always leave for work at around 5 a.m. What of it?
5 a.m.? That would match the timestamp on this recording near enough. Meaning that this phone call did indeed happen when you left the house and met the assailant.
You're wasting your time with law, boy. You should consider joining math class. Look, is there a point to any of this?
There is. Now that we return to the evidence I presented, Brisbane's telephone. Before passing out from blood loss, Brisbane managed to call for an ambulance. At 5:30 a.m., half an hour later.
But that makes no sense. So if the witness saw the assailant leave at 5 a.m., yet the ambulance was called at 5:30 a.m.,
with a half-hour time span between the assault and the time the ambulance was called, the notion that Brisbane remained conscious for that long with so much blood loss is hard to believe. So then, why is there a half-hour gap between the assailant's departure and Brisbane's 911 call?
I'm assuming you are capable of explaining this discrepancy.
To be honest, I haven't a clue. All I did was point out the inconsistency. It's a stretch, but I think I have an idea, Your Honor. If that person Miss Weaver saw really was Detective Smith, then this could be turned around into a huge advantage. Our understanding of the crime thus far says that Brisbane's assault happened just before 5 a.m. So why then did Brisbane call for an ambulance half an hour later?
With those injuries he sustained, he would have barely been able to stay conscious for that long.
You read my mind, Your Honor. So ask yourselves, what's the only other explanation for this time discrepancy? That's right. If we are to believe that Detective Smith really did leave the house at 5 a.m., that leaves a whole half-hour time gap in which the real assailant could have arrived.
Order! 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 Mr. Wright, you do make a very convincing argument.
There's no way Brisbane could have remained conscious for half an hour before dialing 911. Unless we were mistaken all this time and the crime actually happened after Detective Smith left. Bravo, right? That would have made for a decent argument. Were it not for two glaring errors. And what would they be? Number 1. If the defendant left the victim's house with no ill intent, why, pray tell, would he be dressed in a hooded jacket and wearing a mask? Okay, good point. And number 2. If, once again, the defendant left the victim's house with no ill intent, why, pray tell, was he seen with a red glowing object we can only deduce to be the enigmium? An object, might I add, heavily implying murderous intent to obtain.
Why indeed. Mr. Wright, do you think you have evidence to answer both these questions?
He's right. There's no possible way I can make Detective Smith look innocent now. Make Detective Innocent look Smith now. I thought not. Then in that case, I believe another day of investigation is required, Your Honor. We need more answers, and in particular, we need to find the missing enigmium. Only then can we be sure that the defendant actually took it. This time Edgeworth is the one requesting additional time? And right when he more or less had this case in the bag? Huh. He really has changed.
I agree, in light of the as of yet unaccounted for location of the victim's enigmium eyeball. I feel I cannot deliver a just verdict at this time. I am therefore granting an additional day of investigation in order to seek some much-needed answers. On top of discovering the enigmium's location, as well as verifying the defendant's presence, the half-hour time gap between the assailant's departure and the victim's 911 call must also be addressed.
Which isn't going to be easy due to all the evidence suggesting that Detective Smith was there. I just need to prove the presence of a third person who could have been there during that half hour.
Court is adjourned.
That was a long... This episode's going to be really fucking long. Maybe I will split it into 2 parts, I don't know. Way to go, Phoenix. Bang up job as always. Well, okay, so today's proceedings didn't go too well, but we still have another day to work out who the real perpetrator was. What makes you think that it wasn't me? Why have you got it in your head that somebody else did it? When there's nobody else involved or on to blame? Because you told me yourself that you're not to blame, and I... You what? Speak up. I believe you. You do, huh? I mean it, Renwick. I don't think you did it. Despite my traces being all over the house and my voice being heard, you still believe that? There's far too much to this case that meets the eye. Far too much going on behind the scenes to be straightforward accuse Detective Smith. And there were no psyche locks either. Actually, come to think of it, I haven't seen any psyche locks in quite a long time. The Magatomic can't be broken or anything, can it? So then, genius, where do we start for today's investigations? Well, my first guess would be... Huh? Who would be calling me at this time? Mystery caller? What the fuck? Nicky! How's it going, champ? You starting to get Smithy in the clear yet, or what? Actually, nah, don't answer that. I saw everything today. Oh no. This guy again. What do you want from me, Mr. Whoever you are?
I was starting to think that you'd sealed the poor guy's doom in that trial just now. Very shabby job today, sir. Very shabby indeed. Keep it up.
You mean you were watching the trial?
That I was. You see, Nicky. Can I call you Nicky? You see, Nicky. That client of yours. That's quite the...
What? What kind of word is that?
reprobate that you've got there.
What do you mean by that? My client is...
Not as innocent as you've convinced yourself he is. Why else do you think he has that hidden past Edgeworth was on about?
A hidden past? That reminds me of earlier. I have to admit that the defendant is quite the enigma, even to me.
How so, Mr. Edgeworth?
I've had a team of investigators looking into Detective Smith's history, and not one of them has been able to find a thing. The past 5 years of the defendant's life are a total blank, Your Honor.
5 years, you say? How very odd.
Huh? Why would Detective Smith's recent past be so secretive? And why would my client's past be kept in the dark?
He's in trouble, is Smithy. A lot of trouble. Trouble involving Interpol. Trouble involving the criminal underworld. Trouble, Nicky. Trouble. And needless to say, he's ticked off some pretty high rollers over the past 5 or so years. Don't believe me? Why not try asking him yourself? I reckon you'll spot a psyche lock or two.
How do you know all this? And who are you?
All in due time, buddy. Actually, no, wait. See if you can find out. If you make it that far, consider me impressed. Oh, before I go, friendly reminder, the chief wants to see you in his office. Run along now, don't keep him waiting. I'll be watching.
But... Doodles!
Great, this is just what I need.
Damn, Detective Smith slipped out while I was on the phone. Alright, no time like the present, then I suppose. Hold on a minute. Earlier in that conversation, he didn't say what I think he said, did he?
Don't believe me? Why not try asking him yourself? I reckon you'll spot a psyche lock or two.
Oh yeah, how does he know? But how could somebody know about... I must have imagined it. That's a good question. How the fuck does he know that? Okay, first things first. Better head over to Criminal Affairs and find out what the chief of police wants me for. I shouldn't forget to ask him about the mystery caller too. If Edgeworth is right, then Chief Frood must know a thing or two about him. I can't help but feel that this unseen spectator knows a little too much about what's going on here. I'm willing to bet that he's involved somehow, but how? And who the heck is he anyway? And we're going to do that next time.